Hello everybody, this is Sarah with Posh Pooch Designs. Today's video I'm going to show you how to make a triangle granny square. This is a fun and great technique to learn. And it has lots of fun designing possibilities. You can use any yarn and any hook. The only thing I say is to make sure you use the hook that is suggested by the yarn manufacturer. We're going to be using a worsted weight number 4 yarn today, and we're going to be using our H hook, which is a 5mm. You'll also need a pair of scissors for cutting your yarn, and of course a needle for weaving in those ends. A friend of mine said to me, I can make a granny square, but I just can't wrap my head around how to make it into a triangle. And it's really, really easy. This is a free pattern on my blog, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. And I've also added a photo tutorial for each step. This is a great project to use up some of your leftover yarns, and you can do solids, you can do variegated, and you can even change the colors throughout the triangle for lots of fun looks. So go grab you some of your extra yarns and a crochet hook, and we'll get started. The first thing that we need to do is make our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 5. We're going to take the tail where we started, put that over our hook, and pull it through that loop to join in a circle. Now, if you prefer to do a magic circle, you can do that here as well. So now we have a little circle. We're going to take our hook, put it through that circle, and pull up that yarn and chain 3. This chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. To make a double crochet, we're going to yarn over, go in that circle, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops, yarn over, and go through the next 2 loops. That's a double crochet. We're going to make another one. Whoops. That happens sometimes. All right, so now we have 3 double crochets in our circle that we made. The chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet, and then we stitched 2 double crochets. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to stitch 3 more double crochets in that same circle. Now we're going to chain 2 again, and then we're going to stitch 3 more double crochets working in that same circle that we made at the beginning. Chain 2. So what you'll have is 3 groups of 3 double crochets, and then chain 2, and then this chain 2, and we're going to join to the top of this chain 3 with a slip stitch. Put your hook through, pull that loop through, and then pull that loop over the loop that's on your hook. And this is how the first row or round should look. 3 groups of 3 double crochets and 3 spots where we have 2 chains in between. So now we're ready for our next row. We're going to slip stitch in those next 2 double crochets, and this is just to get us over to our next chain 2 space without having to turn our work around. So we're going to go right in that first chain 2 space, slip stitch and chain 3. And again, this chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. We're going to stitch 2 more double crochets in this chain 2 space. We're going to chain 2, and then we're going to stitch 3 double crochets in this same chain 2 space. And then chain 2. And if you'll notice, it's a corner. And on a triangle, we have 3 corners. So we're going to repeat what we did here. We did chain 2, and in this next chain 2 space, we're going to stitch 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, and chain 2. And then we'll do that again in the next corner. Some yarn out here. Whoops. All right, here's my third double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. So there's 2 corners, chain 2, and now I'm in my last chain 2 space, and I'll do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3, chain 2. So now I have 3 corners. And we'll join to the top of this chain 3. We'll slip stitch in those next 2 double crochets. Then we'll slip stitch in the space and chain 3. And that's the way this row should look. You can see already that this is a triangle because we have 3 corners and 3 sides. All right, so let's do the next row. And this next row is how every row will work for as big as you want this, just by doing the same technique of 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets in the corners. Finish this. There's my corner. Chain 3 counted as 1 double crochet, and then 2 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, because our chain 3 always counts as our first double crochet. Then we chain 2. Then we go to the next chain 2 space, and we stitch 3 double crochets. Chain 2, and then we repeat on the corner and the side what we did here. The corners are always the same. 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Then we chain 2 and 3 double crochets in this next chain 2 space. And chain 2. So we have another corner and another side. And then we'll do the same thing here. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochets in our next chain 2 space, then 3 chains, 3 double crochets in our next chain 2 space, chain 2, and then join to the top of that chain 3. We did our last 3 double crochets in the chain 2 space, we chained 2, we joined to the top of our chain 3, slip stitched in the next 2 double crochets, then we slip stitched in our chain 2 space in our next corner and chained 3. And that's how every row will be for as big as you want to make your triangle. The corners will always be the 3 double crochets with 2 chains in between, chain 2, and then here we have 2 chain 2 spaces. So what happens is every row we gain a chain 2 space on each side. Here I have one where here's the 3 corners. And you can see this has got the next row done because we've got our corner, then we have chain 2, and then we did a cluster of 3 double crochets, chain 2 in the 2 spaces. And then you can see when this round is done, we have 1, 2, 3 chain 2 spaces. And what happens is as our triangle gets bigger, we gain a chain 2 space on each side, and the corners always remain the same. All right, so let me show you one more time on this one. We've got our chain 3 made, counts as a first double crochet, then we double crochet 2 more times, chain 2, there we go, my yarn wanted to roll off. Now we're going to put 3 double crochets in that corner, so there's our 3 double crochets because our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Now we're going to chain 2, and now we have 2 chain 2 spaces that we need to work in. So we chain 2, we go to the first chain 2 space and stitch 3 double crochets. Then we chain 2, and we go to the next chain 2 space and stitch 3 double crochets. Then we chain 2. And just so that you can see, let's go ahead and do this next corner. 1, 2, 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Alright, we'll go ahead and chain my 2. And what happens is, for this row, we had 2 chain 2 spaces. So the next row when we come around, we'll have 1, 2, 3. And you'll do that, and that'll happen on all the sides. The corners stay the same, but we gain 1 chain 2 space on each side, and you do the same technique for as big as you want your triangle. Alright, let me go ahead and finish this one. I finished this round, and you can see that each side now has 3 chain 2 spaces, and it has the 3 corners. And again, as you add more rows, if you want to, you'll gain 1 chain 2 space on each side to make it bigger. And you'll always have your 3 corners. So I went ahead and joined to the top of my chain 3. I slip stitched in those 2 double crochets and in the chain 1 space, and then I cut my yarn. So I'm going to go ahead and tie that off, and then I'm going to take a minute and weave in my end. And I always like to show a little bit the way I do my weave in because it's really important. I always like to thread the tail on my hook, and then I go one way, going through stitches, not through holes, and pull it one way. There we go. And then I'll go up a stitch and go right back the way that I came, making sure I go through some stitches, not through the holes. I've found that my weave-ins work better if I try to do it with a needle, and I go through 2 to 3 times back and forth. And that is how you make a triangle granny square.